Hi there, this is Solaris Modalis, and I'm here again today with my friend Alex Clark.
Hey, kitties.
And we're here to talk today about an extraterrestrial past life that I recently wrote about on my blog, solarismodalis.com. And I thought it would be fun to talk through what happened in that lifetime.
And I want to just make a statement here that's really cool and important. What I do here is hold the space for Susan to share her truth. And if you have truth that you need to share, there are people out there who will do the same thing for you, or, maybe it's us. You can always send in questions that you have and we could talk about it. But having the ability to hold the space for somebody to share an experience that is very different from your own means that you bring an ability to just open your heart for that person and allow them to talk about what their truth is without trying to fix it, without trying to explain it, and without trying to change it. So I feel very honored that my dear friend shares these kinds of things with me, and I also share some of my stuff with her. So I just want to anchor that experience that we have, which is above and beyond the healings that Susan's going to talk about. So thank you for giving me that opportunity, Susan. I'm very grateful for it.
Well, thank you, Alex. And I really appreciate your holding the space. That is something that you do so well. And when we do that for another person, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything for that person. Like you don't need to hold their energy. You don't need to be in their energy. It's nothing like that. It's just what you do is you provide a space of unconditional love, in which, I can feel accepted, and heard. And that's really like the greatest gift we can really give another person, I think.
And I think in the world right now, we're noticing a lot of people having experiences that are unique, to say the least, and to have a safe space to share where there's no judgment involved. It is just literally a breath of fresh air and a relief to be able to share your story out loud. Let's just face that, and just get it out there and, be brave and having that opportunity. And again, it goes both ways. So thank you for where you've held the space for me. But you're absolutely right. It's nothing to do with getting in someone else's energy field. It's literally just opening up, a warm hug. Here you go.
Yeah.
So
it allows it allows a person to step forward if they choose to do so.
And no pressure.
Yeah. And I'm all about expressing what I love in my authenticity. So and I think, we're talking about galactic past lives today and extraterrestrial past lives. And this is something that, I think if you feel you're a star seed, that you have a connection with the stars, that you've dreamed about the stars, that you've been on Earth, but with a focus towards the stars, because there are a lot of cultures that were on Earth that interacted with other races over time. Then this is a home for you to sort of be here and share and hear what we're sharing, because I think that you'll relate if those are things that are part of your heart also. So recently, I was doing some healing work for myself. I had some body pains and things that were coming up, and I kept seeing images of a past life that I was aware of, that I had a long time ago. And I knew that on this past life I had flown a starship. I'd flown a starship and that it had crashed and or been made to crash, and that I had been captured. I was as one of the captains of this ship, and that it hadn't gone so well after I'd been captured. And when I sat with doing the healing work for my body, I allowed these visions to come up. And I understand how to work with shamanic techniques at what we call the 0 point space, a space of unconditional love, where we're able to access interdimensionally. And it was interesting because I had relaxed, done the healing work, and the next morning a vision came to me, and I actually saw, because when I had been working with the lifetime, it's a lot of times when I see myself in a life, it's sort of through the eyes of who I was. So I don't, I'm not like looking in a mirror. I don't see who I am, what I look like necessarily, unless I step out in my light body and turn around to look at who I was at that point. So the woman that I had been showed up in a vision, and it was so striking to me because the first thing was her amazing blue skin. And she looked, when I did the article, I found a photo that felt representative and adjusted the coloration on the photo. This is a photo from Unsplash, and I'll link it below. The photographer did an amazing job with this woman, and I basically tweaked the color edits to get that blue color for her skin. It was just so delicious and also shocking, to remember having been one of the blue people, as I like to call them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember you feeding back to me that when you were doing this photo that you hit on the right color, and like your whole heart, and you felt her feelings of, yes, you've captured me, there I am. And we also talked about the fact that this blue seems to be a new blue that is showing up in your photographs and your visions of the sky that really wasn't there before. And a lot of people are talking about that as we move up in energy, that we're able to see colors that really weren't representative before. And even though I have, again, I will state, no experience with past life memories of galactic situations, when I saw the blue girl, Bluebell, there you are, it made my heart happy too. So
yeah, it's so amazing. I mean, I just sit there and look at this photo of her. Basically, for me, it's now a photo of her, and I feel her presence. She was from, first of all, they were in a different galaxy. They were in the Andromeda galaxy, is what my guidance has told me. And they were in the Andromeda galaxy, and they had a unique, I learned about what their culture was like, and I wrote about it a little bit on the blog. But they were sort of a higher dimensional group of people. They were more spiritual, almost like we would view it as more spiritual. The way that they interacted, she didn't speak at all. They had a mouth, but their full communication was through telepathy. And when she flew the starship, she had two other people. There were three of them at one time, and they stood on these podiums, and the podiums made a triangle shape with one captain at each podium, and the three of them basically were linked telepathically with each other, with the ship, so that they were aware of all the functions of the ship sort of flowing through their being. In a way, it's not that it flowed through their being. It was like one with them in a way that didn't affect their bodies so much, but they were just aware of what the ship was sensing and all of that.
So it almost feels to me as if it's an extension of their thought and their neural processes, so that therefore they were able to get in touch with the energy of the ship itself, and through brain and telepathic function direct it, and it was in service to them in that way. So that's really cool.
Yes, yeah. The ship and them were one. They were not linked physically,
No.
nor did they need any technology in their bodies, and their bodies were human-like. Um, so I actually fully believe that humans have this ability too. We don't need to have any technology in us to interact with Wi-Fi or whatever remote technology. But that's another story. But this lifetime, the way that they did it, is something I believe that humans are actually capable of and going to be capable of. But it was a remote, a telepathic link. And so they flew the ship with their mind. They, if they wanted to send out a transmission, they just thought it or felt it, and the ship sent it out.
And I just want to anchor one other thing that you talk about. So the ship itself is not really mechanical, it's conscious. So let's anchor that. We're not talking about driving a tractor across a field.
Yeah.
We're talking about a technology that's so advanced that itself is sentient and in service to this community, in this race, and therefore the ability, the subtlety of direction is on a much higher level.
Yeah. The ship they were individuals. So they were not a hive mind, but they were individuals that had privacy in their individuality, yet at the same time could be linked in layers of connection. So the first layer for her was with her co-captains, and then with sort of, I guess, I don't know if it was like the room she was in or the greater ship, and then they also had a link with their species, like with their community, because these people lived on starships, and some of them I think were like where they lived, and some of them did missions and that kind of thing. But yes, to what you were saying, and everything was considered equal. In other words, the way that we treat our technology now is sort of, in a way, it's it's just like a thing that we I might throw my phone on the whatever, but everything was equal, and I think it is. There was a level of consciousness in the physical elements that were around them that they used to live their life. Those elements, those physical objects, the ship and all the parts of the ship and everything were in service, like you said, to their.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, what she brings to me, is what she reminds me of in my life about me is my love for looking at the stars and my dreams of flying around the stars and the feeling that would be so cool. I think that a lot of that comes from her lifetime. I mean, and when I look up and I connect with the stars, to me, when I look at stars, I can see them as being different colors. Some of the stars look more red to me. Some of the stars look more blue to me. And I always connect with the blue stars. Those are my favorites.
In your clothing choices and your background and your pocketbook.
Yeah, my pocketbook is her color. That's what I realized after I made her.
And your eyes.
And my eyes, yeah. So these are some of the ways that the ET lives can connect with us. So that can show up in the current lifetime, and it's the same as if you had a lifetime on Earth where you loved, I don't know, you were a cowboy and you loved horses or something, and then in this lifetime, you did something with horses, or it's a similar thing, I think. So, yeah.
So you were talking about, and again, the article is amazing. So everybody go visit Solaris Modalis and read the article. But you were talking about her thoughts in the healing process, that she felt guilty because she gave something away, or she thought she did. I think maybe that would be important to talk about if you want to.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel really emotional. Like, I feel emotional about it. And the, so when you're doing, self-healing. The first thing that I had checked in on was, are these the emotions for me from right now, or do they relate to a past life or something else? And so when I did my inner checks, I got that it was a past life, and I know it's from her life in this instance. But yeah, I was feeling, oh, I know what it was. I was feeling, I'm starting to do videos now and talk more about my work as Solaris. And I was having trouble doing that. I've written a little less recently on the blog. And I was feeling overcome with, like, part of me felt like I can't let this information out. Like that I had this secret information that I couldn't let out. And it's just, clearly not related to this lifetime. But the desire to keep that I had a responsibility to keep this information secret, it's just overwhelming, and didn't relate to this lifetime. And I realized that it related to her lifetime.
Yes, and I honor your bravery and your courage for continuing forward and investigating why you were feeling these ways, and checking in with your team, and also your body, and feeling that intuition, and the opening up of the solar plexus or the closing. We've talked about that before. So just because something is scary doesn't mean you're not going to go through it. So
it was scary. And now I do this work with other people also. But I also then do it for myself. And sometimes when I do it for myself, it's great to have someone else to talk to, someone like Alex, and other friends that relate with what I'm talking about and understand these kinds of techniques, which are basically shamanic in nature, is how I would describe it, but with the quality of also working at the quantum level, or zero point energy field, which qualifies the energy in a very specific way. So basically, it's a spiritual process, I guess. What isn't a spiritual process?
Exactly.
But basically what happened is that they were flying the ship, and there was this incredibly huge beam of light. And the ship it's like it crashed, but it didn't hit anything. It crashed, and I could see in my vision of what happened, I could see basically like this beam of light came into their command deck, and just like she got sucked into that and was gone. And was captured, basically. When that beam of light hit the ship and crashed it, everyone lost consciousness, including the ship, because the ship had a level of consciousness. So everything just turned off. Basically, it's like it was, on movies you see like ships just like tilted, hanging in space. That's basically what happened. They were just like all, and so she was captured, and what I could see was that the beings that attacked this ship and captured them had such advanced technology that they were actually able to just kind of go into her brain and download the information that they wanted without her even being conscious. But later on, when she woke up and had been captured and woke up, they wanted some other information as well, and that was a fairly unpleasant experience for her to have to go through. So yeah.
Big hugs.
Yeah, I can still feel like the residual emotion from it, because she lived through, the interrogation, and then was killed when she wasn't, when they kind of were done accessing her consciousness. They were trying to kind of get into her telepathic link, basically. So what happens when the body dies, because I've have looked at so many passings at this point,
Mm-hmm.
Is, and I want to address this because it might help other people to have an understanding of why they have this residual energy in their body and in their field. Well, so when you die, when you die, you kind of pass, the spirit sort of passes through the body and the energy field, and then it goes to the light or whatever you feel happens. I don't want to, how I view it isn't the only way to view these things. I just want to say, I want to honor all experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have seen for me is that my spirit will pass through, and there's kind of this layer of energy that's very close to the body, and that may be, we can call that the astral field or whatever. So when the spirit passes through, what I have seen is that in other lifetimes is that the impressions that I'll have as the spirit is still, the body is dead, but the spirit still has awareness before a full death, and before it fully leaves the body. And in those moments, the body and the spirit is still having emotions and thoughts, because the spirit is attached to the body still. So even though the body is dead, emotions and thoughts are still happening. And what happens is the spirit cannot take that, can only take love with it when it leaves. And that will become a residue of, especially when the body dies in trauma. So, if you remember past lives from Atlantis, this is a big thing. Remembering Atlantis is a big thing with a lot of us. There was a lot of trauma there. Other lifetimes where you've had trauma, so you get this residue. And when you come back, in incarnation, depending on the specifics of what you're going to experience in this lifetime and achieve and do, you will, it's like a computer program. This is how I've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah, basically it's kind of like, okay, we're going to take, lifetime, X, Y, Z, and that's what is in the body. And then to be sort of the whole of who you are in this lifetime. So maybe it's, in my case, it was, love of flying, fascination with spaceships, fascination with the idea that they exist, a desire to look up, but then it was also some of these feelings of guilt or, secrets and hiding and that kind of thing. So when we're alive in physical form, then we're able to address these and heal them as they come up. And sometimes we do it consciously, and sometimes it's just through healing a body pain. So,
yeah, and what really comes up strongly for me is this ability to balance. And I'm not talking about karma here. I'm talking about the idea that you're given the opportunity in this lifetime to address something that occurred. And so therefore, that's why this is coming up for you. I mean, the body, and I sometimes work with this as a medical intuitive on the level of what I call innate body energy wounding. Okay. And somebody may have broken an arm, and then the arm is completely healed, but they still have to deal with the trauma of the strike. So, it's amazing how much information and energy the body can store on your behalf. So let's, give the body a high five and thank it. I, for years and years and years, had neck problems, always from one side, always extremely painful. And then I get a past life memory that I got my head cut off a couple times. Well, there you go. After that, my neck didn't hurt anymore because I was aware, and I was able to love myself into, alignment and healing. So I think that that's what you're speaking about here too, is that you had these physical, almost like reverberations of a traumatic event in a past life. Now, we all know, or that this is what we believe, that the soul is fine, right? That the soul goes on in perfection, but that they're given the opportunity through other lifetimes to address the residue, as you say, and get it and clear it out.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
I often call it detritus.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you have a piece of metal and that got rusted, and you apply some stainless steel or whatever, and you can get that rust off and make that metal shine again as if it had never been rusted. And
Hmm.
that's how I see this process. And for me, your focus, Alex, is the body, and my focus is the energy fields. And so in a compliment to what you just said, when I look at myself to do this, or when I work with another person, basically what I get a sense of is the energy grids. And I see
Hmm.
them as golden at this point, when we're looking at a higher dimensional expression. And I almost see it as golden with like dirt, with a little dirt, I get that feeling. And then we shake that dirt off in the healing process, and it leaves the field and transmutes into its form of highest good. Working with guides of the highest light.
Hmm.
So, I'm like shaking while we're talking about this, basically. And it was, there was a lot of emotion. She had a very kind of, I don't know if you can sense it from the picture, but she had a very fairy-like quality to her. I mean, she was like a human being,
Hmm.
but the feel was so gentle, so fairy-like and lithe, and so very feminine. And
Hmm.
and you know in my life, I've never been attracted. I've never wanted to know really much about the fairies. I appreciate them, but there are people who are really into Gaia and the Devic kingdoms and the elementals, like you are. But I never wanted to. I never wanted to explore that. Um,
And there you go. I mean, I've never been interested really in galactics until I met you.
I
So there
know.
we go.
Yeah.
She reminded me of, I immediately saw a pixie in her. So
Yes, a
yes.
pixie.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because there's a website that I've been drawn to called Dark Pixie Astrology. I'll put that link in there. And it was so funny because when I was just recently writing about her, I just clicked something and a bookmark came up, and it was Dark Pixie Astrology. I'm not kidding.
See how that happens, folks? We pick things out of the ether from each other.
We do.
We
We do. And here is the color of the pencil that I always have on my desk. It is her color. So
hmm
it's so interesting. So the reason that I didn't want to know anything about pixies, fairies, and stuff is because I had a past lifetime where I was one, and it ended in a lot of trauma. And to go there would have meant that I would have touched that trauma. And that is why I didn't want to go there. Um,
it
yeah.
And I think it's important also to address the fact that you're talking about this past lifetime as being a very long time ago. Now, I know, generally speaking, you and I talk about time existing all in the now moment. That's why these pains feel very present, is because they're all, our whole, everything is happening now.
Yeah.
There's literally just a distance between it. And that's a dimensional distance, or something along that lines. And in future videos, Susan will speak about 0 point and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But we're dealing with dimensional differences here. But that doesn't mean that that it's not fresh,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. And I literally can feel her like it's now. Now what I'm left with, though, because I've moved through, healing the trauma with her in the body,
Hmm.
um and what I'm left with is, her eternal spirit. She's fine now, and they say that we talk about the fact that matter is, it can never really truly be, just energy can never truly be destroyed. And I know that in there, that spiritually speaking, we talk about the soul being eternal. Well, she's an eternal existence, an internal part of my soul. We're part of the same soul. And this is a new lifetime where I look like this instead of like that. that.
She still keeps trying to put that blue skin on, though.
She does. She's always wearing. I'm always wearing blue. And I'm kind of fascinated by her in this. This is part of the healing process. Is feeling this closeness with her, and I that really gentle femininity is something that I always felt like I wasn't really interested in embodying, and now I know why. I mean, because when I was that way, I had this lifetime, and it was very traumatic. And at the end, just the last, very, very last part, like 1%. But it was so traumatic that being captured and feeling like she betrayed her people, because they were able to access her telepathic link, and they were able to my sense is that they were able to somehow trick her into opening that up, and it could be they had technology that did it, and it wasn't her fault. I just I really don't know, and I don't need to know the details of it.
No, but it's interesting to address that, because we did have a brief conversation about this before when you brought it to my attention. As what comes up for me, and you'll notice in our videos, things come up for me. That means my higher self is giving me a nudge. That because as a higher dimensional race who had moved evolutionarily into a telepathic communication and also into a unity consciousness, because they were so highly upgraded, there was no consciousness of things being able to enter or attack that. So it feels to me, when we discuss it, and again, Susan does a great job in the article, that they were evaluated from afar, and that there was a one-strike capability, because, as she says, the ship and the community immediately knew what had gone on and were able to make adjustments. But it was that pinpoint ability to target something that they felt was open. Had it not worked, that would have been the end of that, but it did work. So, not that I'm saying that we shouldn't be open and telepathically connected and in a unity consciousness, but here on Earth, we are very balanced. We talk about it a lot, about integrating our dark side and our light side, and there's skill sets that we learn from both. So while we open our heart, we also anchor protection. And it seems to me that as this race evolved, that there was no ability to perceive what was going on in the lower dimensions. Like there was too much of a distance.
Yeah.
And something here was able to find that back door, enter, like a lightning strike. Like if your house gets struck by lightning, your house may not burn down, but all your system, your electric system, gets fried. So if they could find the one entry point, and had it maybe not been her, it could have been somebody else, but it was her. And the idea that she was guilty about the way the entire race was set up is an interesting and human emotion. I mean, we have that on planet now, where people have, I'm just going to say it, race guilt or familial guilt, when they themselves did not participate absolutely at the time. There's still some of this detritus and this residue that exists. So going through the process of looking in detail of what occurred, you may never know, because we don't have a high enough perception at the present time. But you go from one side of the situation where you're feeling awful, go through the healing process and the loving and the forgiving, and on the other side you feel much better, lighter, and released. And that's what we're anchoring here.
Yeah. And it's in this lifetime, how this has benefited me and how it's informed my experience, is that I've spent the last few years studying quantum physics and developing a set of tool sets related to quantum that are quantum in nature. And this understanding of how energy works, I know that I get from the past lifetimes I've had, where I was beings like this woman,
Mm-hmm.
through the memories of, the galactic memories that I've talked about. But but I'm very conscious about setting what I call setting energy parameters, and being very specific. So there are ways to set energy parameters that cause us that affect how we experience our life, and how we create and experience our reality. And I think this is something that I got from her lifetime. In other words, you have a situation happen, and then you change it in the next lifetime. So we did not set energy parameters, as that culture didn't set the parameters to in such a way that this is my sense, and I think this is what you just said.
Yeah.
In such a way that it disallowed another frequency from entering in. So when I think it's important, because a lot of people, to talk about this, because a lot of people view protection as like a shield, or like this hard thing around them. And that's one way, when you're learning about your energy and your energy field, to do it. And I went through doing that. Also, put your shield up and all of that. But the fact is that we have the ability to say, because I am the master. I am the master in this body, and I am the representative of my soul. And when you get to that level of awareness, you're equal with, you get to you basically are interacting at a level of soul, where I'm saying with my soul, this is what I want to experience in this lifetime. And
Yep.
So you're basically doing your soul contract from moment to moment. So, people talk about you're born, you have a soul contract, and your whole life is planned out. That's not how. What I feel is that we actually do it moment to moment. For the soul, that's no big deal. So this is a perspective. It may not be the perspective of everyone watching this, and that's fine.
But what's interesting is Susan and I come from completely different modalities, and we both kind of rock it the same way. And we will be talking about this.
Yeah, we
will.
will.
Stay tuned,
we have
folks.
plans. And an evolvement of this idea of protection is that we set the frequencies. And I think another thing that you pointed out that's so important is that higher dimensional beings cannot necessarily see into the lower dimensions. Okay, now at the level of the creator or source or God or whatever, they talk about God being, we type about God being omnipresent. Well, because God is like everything, if you look at creation as being everything in existence, then that's how omnipresence might work. But if you are a higher dimensional incarnated being, okay, and there's other dimensions around you, and some of them are lower, you won't be able to see into that, because it is not in your awareness. Just like some people believe in God, some people don't believe in God. It's not in their awareness, and for some people God is. Those are both equally valid experiences.
So I'll talk about this from a biological perspective.
Okay.
I know that there are cells in my bloodstream called red blood cells. They are within my body. I know that. But I cannot perceive an individual red blood cell right now. And the consciousness of the red blood cell does not know that it's within this huge, vast network complex of bloodstream, right? Or say you have a little mosquito that lands on your arm, right? To that mosquito, your arm is a vast land of wealth and plenty. It does not perceive the whole human being, right? So it's all a matter of perception. We think, oh, let's look at stuff in the higher dimensions. I can't see that. But it works both ways. And you nailed it a couple of months ago when we were talking about the idea of boots on the ground humanity, that you can see a vast wealth from the higher dimensions, the higher perspective, but try to nail down one little thing and you need a microscope. We're the microscope.
Yes, yeah, and that's what a lot of the star seeds are here doing, and also other light workers and people who work with energy. And then I learned this in 2012 is when I first started doing energy work with the land, and I had a feeling that I should work with the land to clear energy, and coincidentally, a woman who I had met that summer said that she wanted to work with the land, and we just like literally how do you run into someone else who wants to work with the land energetically? I mean, so we happened to meet, and she said, well, where would we do it? And I knew exactly. I had a location in mind, and I consulted with a third person, and this person did her connecting, and she was talking about how that her guides, needed to she was working with guides who needed a certain equipment to see into this area. So she wasn't working with celestial, or she was working with guides sort of probably in a fourth dimensional state if they needed technology to look into this area. So that's when I got like, you mean they can't see what's there?
They can feel the essence of things,
yeah,
but the actual technical details. And so I want you all to feel that. I want you all to feel how very important you are to the mission, no matter what your mission is. Boots on the ground intel is key.
It is. And
take the cookie.
Take the cookie. That's Alex's. That's one of Alex's great phrases. Yeah, so pat yourself on the back because this is what you're doing. So when I went to that piece of land, and this was 11/11/2012. That was my first work that I did with this friend. When I went to the work, I was able to send my consciousness down and see what was down there, and it was quite something. This person who had looked in there for me, said, oh yeah, there is something dark in there, you could do some work there. Well, little did I know when we got there what would be down there. So working with a whole team I
want to just anchor something that's important to talk about. When Susan does work, she checks in to see if permission is granted. Yeah. Okay, and just because you do certain type of work at a certain time and place, and you have that skill set, checking in for permission is always important. And you will know, you'll feel it, in your body or chills or whatever, and a knowing and an insistence. So it's interesting, and that's a huger discussion for another time. But
I'm glad you said that, Alex, because there's a whole bunch of bunch of rules. and
you talked about parameters and permissions.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So important.
There are rules to how you do the work. And if you follow a certain set of rules, you do the work in what I call 0 point, which is also like doing it in your from your light body. And if you do the work from not your light body, but from your human body, that's a whole nother story. And I would not recommend that, because that's when you get into karma. That's when you get into stuff that, in my view, is not in my highest good. It's not something I'm interested in experiencing.
Yeah, and let's just anchor again. The parameters of this plane are sovereignty, free will, choice, and so that's important, because commanding your will and what you think is in the highest good from a higher perspective may not be the case. So we never fully know. And that's why we then ask for help from the higher perspective. Yeah. See how that works? Boots on the ground, higher perspective, boots on the ground. So there's a constant inflow. We all do it. Some of ours are more conscious of that, and everyone has the ability. So I just wanted to anchor that as well.
Yes, and you'll have your own way of checking in with your inner divinity. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah.
For guidance. And this is something that is not mental, it's not emotional, it's a pure connection at the level of, well, you actually set the frequency of the level of connection. And you can set it at the level of your I am presence. You can set it at the level of source consciousness. You can, I prefer to set it, that parameter. I ask to set it at the highest frequency possible, and I have a name for what that frequency is. But I'm sitting here with my crystals right now. They're helping me make a field of higher dimensional energy to feel comfortable in when we talk about this. But I think it was an important point, and it's 333 now, about that this, and I want to just say who these people were, because some people might look at the blue girl and say, well, what race is that and all of this? What I know is that they were in the Andromeda galaxy when I've interacted with blue people in different ways. The ones that I've interacted with have been from the Andromeda galaxy. But what I also know is that this was an Arcturian race. So when I interact with the Arcturians on the light ships, I just see them as great big energy clouds. But apparently, at some point, they incarnated as blue beings, and that doesn't mean that all blue beings are Arcturian, or that all Arcturian, or that there aren't Arcturians that were bird-like or whatever else. But this is my experience. So
it's just one more set of data points,
Yeah.
and here's something that we talk about all the time. Facts are facts for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And somebody else's data points may be different, but it all contributes to a collective understanding. So that's important. Like, a lot of people think that biology in no way interacts with other races, and I'm here to tell you that's not true at all. So
yeah.
So facts are facts for you. And if something feels good for you, you're not here to change anybody else's mind, but free will, choice, and sovereignty. Woohoo!
Yes.
But having an open mind, and absolutely not putting up those blocks to somebody else's information, because we're all on an as need to know basis here. Information is downloaded and knowings to all of us. Okay. Yeah. And if something feels important to you, somebody else may bring you other information. Like, again, you've seen all our videos. Susan opened my eyes to, seeing galactic stuff happening right before my eyes that I never even focused on. So being open in that innocent wonder and curiosity is going to give you so much in your life to think about and look at.
Yeah, and that is a parameter that Alex just set. That is a energy parameter that she just set. So my sense about the Arcturians is that they have been around so long that they incarnated as different races of beings, like all at once, and an experience of that, and then they incarnated as something else, and they had an experience of that. So there may be a name for this race of beings that I'm not aware of, but another name for them. But I have to say, it still bothers me that I don't know how the ship was crashed. I just, for whatever reason, that's just not information that that I'm guided to figure out right now. Like that's not important.
And the pertinent details were given to you. And like I said, we're on an as need to know basis. But our brains are masters of, master difference engines, and data point entry, wants more data.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get lost in the details. My dad said that to me when I was a kid, don't get lost in details. And I've always kind of lived my life by the essence of things. And maybe it's because it's not time for you to know, or maybe because you don't have the high enough perspective, and you have a pretty dang high perspective. Let's face facts here.
Well,
but is it relevant? Does it in any way give you more ability
You
I
know,
don't know.
I'm actually checking in on this while you're talking, and while we're talking about this. And you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling that the fact that I said it bothers me. What I feel is that that's actually really the emotions that she was feeling.
Hmm.
About like how did this happen, and of having fault. Feeling that she was, because she was the captain.
Hmm.
She was. It was her responsibility to be. And now she didn't have a concept of responsibility. Okay, her and her co-captains, that wasn't part of their culture. That is a human perspective. I just want to
Hmm.
say that, like, so remembering this as a human being brings my cultural perspective of humanity to this, of the whole concept of there being responsibility. I apply that, so I'm feeling her emotions and I'm putting my human cultural awareness onto them from their perspective. It was her. She received these signals. If you think about a ship doing scans or being aware of what's around it in space, it was her job to receive this and perceive it, and she didn't perceive anything. And as a human being, then this is the fascinating thing about healing past lives and ET past lives from other cultures, is I bring my human feelings of responsibility, and then I need to heal. As a human being, I heal those. And as I'm doing this and allowing the emotions to transmute into a neutral state of energy, into their highest good, into the highest state of energy that's in my highest good, and letting go of what I no longer need to have
Hmm.
with me. Um, the emotions that she left after she died because she couldn't bring them with her, um, those transmute in the now moment. Um,
Just feel that. Yeah.
yeah, applying
It's
that love.
amazing how it works.
It is. It's amazing, and it elevates human awareness. Like each one of us having our experiences and doing our healing, and in whatever way that you do that, when you apply love, when you just apply your awareness to any situation, it benefits the collective. It's like the 100th monkey effect.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that. What
Yeah,
you do, I mean, what you do for yourself with love, that love, like you said, energy is never destroyed. It
yeah,
doesn't just stay in your field, it becomes available, even if it's just by role modeling, like I said, the courage and bravery to speak about something, to
yeah.
heal something, to shift something, to open to a wider understanding of what we are going through here on planet and how many different things have occurred to get us to this now point. It is, I mean, I have chills all over my body
Yeah.
just feeling into that,
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful experience, and I'm so glad that you introduced me to your beautiful blue girl.
Thank you.
And I love you in your totality. So
Thank
I
you.
feel really honored to share this with you.
Thank you, Alex. I mean, it's when you're talking with someone who is able to connect and then add their own insights, it's helpful and it's fascinating, and it's healing. And I wanted to say that one of the guides that I've worked with that's close to my heart, is it looked like this. I'm going to put this picture. Let me see if I can put this picture.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, see that?
Okay.
Looked like this, and I had seen this gentleman, like a male figure, with blue, like the bluish purple, like she has skin, and gold, gold and that color on the headdress, and even a gold, maybe a tinge to that skin, however that was, however that could be with the blue, but so I had seen this male guide, and I knew that he was also from that Andromeda and had been a healer there. So I knew that he was both part of had lived, and that now he was as also a spirit guide. And what I realized in healing her lifetime and working with her is that this was her partner, and he's been with me for years.
Yep. He's been so see, here's another data point, right? So you make the connection. Yeah. You've had this thing in your, not thing, this experience in your field, and then you see, it's almost like it. I don't want to say magnetizes because we don't talk about it in that fashion, but it's like, and boom, another data point is born. That's so cool.
Yeah. I first saw him in Chimoya, which is and we'll wrap up after this story, but in Chimoya is now a Catholic church in New Mexico, just north of Santa Fe. And it's one of these churches where miracles occur and this sort of thing. So we're sitting, in front of you have to sit in front of the altar, and then you can go into this room where, you have the special access to this, basically what it was is a portal. But, they have a hole dug to the ground, and it's an energy portal that they put a church over. And it's, so we're sitting there, and that's when I saw him. I saw him looking like this in my clairvoyant vision, and he had a staff, and he asked if I wished to receive healing energy from him. And I said yes, and I asked if he would heal the others that I was with also, that if he would send us that light in our highest good. And he did. And then I did a meditation with him. And we were staying at a friend's house whose husband was dying of cancer. And when I went back to the house, this guy that I had met was still with me. And I had the idea to ask if he would bring healing light to this husband. And I asked, I spoke to the people about it, and they said that they would like to receive, this light. And so I went in, and this is the first time that I did healing work. And at first it was with this guide, and I would ask for him to be present, and I could see him there, and he would work. And then eventually, after working with him, sort of outside myself, eventually I learned how to do this with him, and he's her partner. He was her partner when they were alive together in the Andromeda galaxy, and it's just so beautiful, to now meet both of them.
And what's wonderful about this is I obviously, Susan and I have a pretty strong connection, and I can just feel like the tears of gratitude, like just welling up within her, and the heart expanding, and actual physical body reactions that she's having to this truth. That's the important thing to anchor. When you get those feelings, it is real to you, and it is an amazing thing. And I wish that for everyone, and it's possible.
Yeah, their love is like, and I can see, that she has incarnated, and he's been there in spirit, through her incarnations, however that has worked. That he's been there with her, and I've had times when I've seen visions of this, and when I finally met her this week, and saw her, it's when I saw her in the blue skin that she has that I was able to put all this together. And,
there you go,
and realize that connection. So and I feel that this is. This is a huge opening to invite that love into my life at a new level, and this is the benefit of being willing to do this work.
And I would also note it's important for folks not to rush through things. Yeah. So Susan and I call it a period of integration. So say you had a surgery, and this is kind of like a light body surgery. Okay, you've removed something, you've released it, you've transmuted it. There's a need to treat the body and the soul and the heart and the emotions gently. Just imagine wrapping yourself up like a little baby, and rocking it gently and taking care of yourself, because you're going to notice reverberations in all aspects of your life. And if you rush it, you're offering this, we're watching Susan do this, offering a tremendous amount of love to this being who is a part of herself.
Yeah.
So there's a loop back, but we really, as humans, need to make that connection and understand how important, how valuable, and how unconditionally loved we are in this universe, and offer that to ourselves. So, it's important to note that.
Yeah.
And I know you do a pretty darn good job of that, but it's important for folks to see.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I don't even know what you just said, but I kind of have the general sense of just sitting here with the energy of it. And my dog now, Alex is a bird, and I've got the dog and a dog tail. Yes, to the feeling that I feel is just expressed. So, yeah, so thanks so much, Alex, for being with me here today and talking through this. It's just so, like, I don't know why, I felt guided to do this today. And Alex and I talked a little bit about this woman in her life yesterday, and we were just saying this feels like what we should video today, rather than another ship video or something like that. But I felt strongly guided.
But she's got lots of juicy stuff, and I can't wait to get to it.
I know. We'll do another one of those in a shorter video again. We were going to make this 15 minutes, and it's a bit longer than that. So anyway, if you stayed with us till the end, thank you so much. I hope that you've benefited and got something out of this. And if you have comments or would love to share something, you can comment below or ping me at the blog on my contact form. So thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Be well, my friends.
Be well. Blessings. This is Solaris. Thanks for watching today. If you would like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. It's been so great hanging out with you. And come on over to the blog at solarismodalis.com.